Ji-woo is a worthless loser who loves cats to an unhealthy amount and stumbles upon a cat named Caden, who actually turns out to be the strongest awakened one in the whole world. He has powers of himself and learns from Caden that he is actually an awakened one himself. The story starts with a mysterious light crashing on an empty alleyway, and Caden is heavily injured from being ganged up by unknown assailants. He thought about hiding and using the time to recover, as if he kept running, he wouldn't recover and would eventually get caught. As his body was bloody and battered, he wants to find a way to erase his tracks, so when he sees a fat cat, he decides to turn himself into the cat in order to erase his tracks and recover. The next morning, the ugly, disgusting meat curtain lover, cat lover, femboy Ji-woo goes to a shop and wastes all of his money on cat accessories and food instead of buying things for himself, as the cat snacks were on sale. He only wanted to buy a few items, but since he couldn't decide which one to get, he decides to just get them all. When he is done shopping, he goes outside and thinks that his cats would really like the stuff he bought. He suddenly notices a little boy going to the road to retrieve his football. Before he becomes a victim of Karkun and gets isekai'd into another world, Ji-woo uses his super speed to get the boy out of harm's way and gets to the other side of the road. He asks the kid if he is hurt and instructs him to be careful next time. The bystanders think that the kid disappeared, as Ji-woo was too fast for them to see. He feels happy about himself for saving the boy, and when the kid's mom comes and asks who saved him, he points to Ji-woo, saying that the blondie saved him. He almost exposed his powers to the general public, but felt like it was worth it since he saved a life. That night, he apologizes to the cats for giving them their food late, but the cats ignore the food and keep meowing at him. He follows them and sees a cat covered in blood, so he takes it back home. The cat is actually the level 69 Riz Lord Caden, and when he wakes up, he remembers that he grabbed the cat by its head and transformed into it. When Ji-woo notices that the cat is awake, he gets happy to see he is all right and starts being all clingy, so Caden wonders who the F this doofus is. Ji-woo brings food for him and asks Caden why he was passed out. He is surprised that there aren't any wounds in his body, as his body was covered in blood, and now it makes him wonder if it was someone else's blood. I think he must have forgotten that a cat can't speak human language. Caden thinks that Ji-woo is one talkative doofus. Ji-woo then gives him milk, and even though he feels disgusted that someone as great as him is going to eat cat food, he ultimately decides to eat it as he needs to heal quickly. As he is slurping the milk, Ji-woo picks him up, as he wants to figure out his gender. Ji-woo, do you remember what happened the last time you tried to check someone's gender? You got put into jail. Angry at him, Caden tells him to put him down in a deep male voice. And Ji-woo gets shocked seeing that this pussycat could talk. For a second, Ji-woo wonders if this voice is from the television, and gets shocked when he realizes that the cat is talking. Caden then threatens to chop off his baby-making machine if he does anything else to him, and after asking his name, he orders him to bring him a chair. As he gets up to the chair, he wonders why it is so hard to climb. He warns Ji-woo that if he tells a word about this to anyone, he would give him a tongue punch in the fart box. Upon looking at himself in the mirror, he sees a cat and feels disgusted. Blood doesn't know he is looking at himself. However, reality soon sets in, and Caden realizes that he, Caden the Great, is now a fatter version of Garfield from Wish.com. The reality hits him so hard that he falls from the chair, and Ji-woo wonders what suddenly happened to him. He starts crying, thinking that Caden has died, so Caden tells him that he is still up and running and tells the doofus to put him down. Caden wonders why Ji-woo was so worried seeing him like that. Nobody must have given him love his whole life. Looking at himself in the mirror again, he wonders why he changed into a stupid fat cat. Ji-woo then asks him how he can speak like a human when he is a cat, so Caden tells him that he is a human and just looks like a cat temporarily. Jiwoo asks if he transformed into a cat, so Caden tells him to shut his goofy mouth, as even if he would explain it, Jiwoo's single-celled brain won't understand it. Even Caden initially thought that transforming into an animal was only possible theoretically, but apparently, he made it a reality. Jiwoo keeps bugging him with more and more questions, so Caden tells him that the two of them just happened to meet because of inevitable circumstances, so he doesn't need to know anything else. Jiwoo gave him food once again, as Caden was passed out for a long time. Caden gets angry, as even though Jiwoo knows he is a human, he is telling him to eat cat food. So Jiwoo tells him that he might be a human, but for now, he is a cat, so he should eat cat food. After requesting him again to eat the food, he goes outside to feed the other cat, and Caden thinks that Jiwoo is right, and that he should eat food that is good for a cat. However, he is disgusted by the cat food, and gaslights himself so he can eat the food. When he takes the first bite, he gets surprised as the food tastes really good, and in no time, he empties the bowl. After eating the food, he decided to rest and regain his strength, as if he is discovered in his current state, he would be dead meat in no time. Later that night, Jiwoo tells Caden that he is going out to buy some cat food from an animal hospital for tomorrow, as he only has treats left now. He invites Caden to join him, and when he refuses, Jiwoo tells him that he might blabber about him to other people, so Caden agrees to go with him. He lifts him up, and Caden gets angry at him for treating him like a cat, but eventually has to submit to Jiwoo's cuteness. He feels disgusted by himself for feeling comfortable sitting inside Jiwoo's shirt. When Jiwoo reaches the hospital, the doctor asks what he is doing here so late, so he tells the doctor that he is there to get some cat food and to get Caden checked. Caden gets angry realizing that Jiwoo has tricked him but can't do anything when the doctor is checking him, as it would blow his cover. The doctor can't see any problem with him, and Jiwoo breathes a sigh of relief hearing this. However, the doctor tells him that Caden needs to go on a diet, and Caden feels like beating the hell out of him for saying that. Going back home, Caden asks Jiwoo if there is a monster cat in the neighborhood, and Jiwoo looks to his right to see a ferocious kitty that looks more like a tiger, but Caden assures him that it is a cat. Jiwoo runs away, but the cat chases him, and Jiwoo falls on the ground when the cat grazes his back. Looking for a weapon, Jiwoo uses a cat toy that he had in his pocket, and Caden gets shocked wondering how dumb can one guy be. When the cat lunges at him, Jiwoo gets scared, but sees that the cat just wants to play with the toy. He tells Caden to use the opportunity to run away, but he too, like the other cat, is attracted by the toy. In the past, Caden defeated a guy that he challenged to a fight. He kept challenging strong people and kept winning, making the renowned awakened people scared of him as they weren't accepting his challenges anymore. People from all over the world, the strongest of their clans, invited him to join them and even agreed to make him their leader. In the present, Jiwoo asks Caden what he is doing, and the other cat takes the toy away from his hand. Looking at the scar on the cat's eye, Jiwoo remembers that it looked just like a cat he once fed. When the cat attacks him again, he dodges it, and meanwhile, Caden is having a mental crisis remembering what he just did. Jiwoo grabbed him and quickly escaped from the cat. After getting a good distance away, he stops and thinks that they can relax, but Caden tells him to wonder what would happen to other people when they would come across the cat. Hearing this, Jiwoo wonders what he should do, so Caden tells him to call in a report about the cat, but the goofy femboy forgot his phone at home. He then decides to step up himself, as they can't leave the cat there. Caden tries to make him remember the cat's sharp claws, but soon realizes that Jiwoo is a softie for cats. Jiwoo tells him to go home so he can do something about the cat. He remembers the cat being a really nice kitty once and wonders why he turned out that way. Instead of leaving, Caden offers to give him a tiny portion of his power, so he will be able to suppress the cat. Jiwoo gets on his knees, and tapping his paw on his forehead, Caden gives him some of his powers, and Jiwoo feels like electricity is flowing through his whole body. With that done, he is about to go search for the cat, when suddenly, the cat does an Uno reverse and comes looking for him. He tells Caden to get back, and Caden wonders why he is not scared of that cat. Jiwoo tells the cat to remember that he came to his house some time ago, and Caden reminds the doofus that normal cats can't understand him. The cat jumps at him and keeps trying to slash him, but Jiwoo dodges all of his attacks. And seeing him move, Caden is surprised. He is tracking and anticipating all of the cat's movements. But the most surprising thing for Caden is that Jiwoo isn't even using his powers to dodge the cat. Jiwoo isn't using Caden's powers because he told him that he could only use it for a short time, so he thinks that he needs to save it and use it at the right time. Seeing him move at lightning speed, Caden wonders if Jiwoo has super speed powers. After apologizing to the cat, Jiwoo brings him down but gets worried thinking that he might have died, so Caden tells him that the cat is just knocked out. He then tells Jiwoo that they need to run, as he has made quite a commotion. Meanwhile, a doctor named Delian is searching for the furious cat and feels frustrated that he can't use his powers as he doesn't want to be detected. However, he decides to ultimately use them and calls for the cat to come back to him. At home, Jiwoo patched up the cat's injuries, but is still worried, wondering if what he did is enough, so Caden tells him that the cat is all right. However, Jiwoo still wants to take him to the hospital, so Caden asks what he would do if the cat wakes up in his horrible form again. Jiwoo finally calms down a bit, and Caden wonders what caused the cat to grow so strong and big, as a normal cat couldn't have done that, and it felt like the cat was awakened. After that, Jiwoo shyly asked Caden to not say anything about his powers. Caden assures him that he won't say anything about him being an awakened one, and hearing this, Jiwoo asks, "What is an awakened one?" Caden is surprised that Jiwoo doesn't know what an awakened one is, and Jiwoo asks him if there are other people like him with powers. Caden answers that he is looking at one of them, and when Jiwoo acts surprised hearing this, Caden asks if a normal person could turn into a cat. Hearing this, Jiwoo suddenly starts crying, as he always thought that he was a weirdo, and it is his first time meeting another awakened one. Caden knows that it isn't easy for people like him who don't know what they are. Jiwoo reveals that when his mom found out about his powers, she told him to never use them again. He once used them when he was little, but when his friends called him a monster, he decided to keep his powers hidden. He and his mom had to move a lot in order to hide his powers. And even though he was terrified of himself, as he thought that he wasn't human, he never told his mom about it so she wouldn't get worried. He was afraid that people would take him away to a lab and dissect him. So because of all these things, he teared up when he realized that there were other people like him, and that his powers were not a disease. He then asked Caden to teach him more about the awakened ones, so he told him that people like them who had superhuman powers are called the awakened ones. However, there is no information as to where these powers came from. There are all kinds of powers in the world, as some have psychic abilities and some have superhuman abilities. Jiwoo feels like the awakened ones are just like superheroes in movies, and when Caden asks if his power has gotten stronger, Jiwoo replies that he could only move fast for about a second in the past, but now he can run for 3 to 5 seconds at his max speed. However, Caden feels like his improvement is little to nothing, and tells him that he lacks training, but it is only normal that his powers didn't grow, as he was trying to hide his powers. When Jiwoo asks Caden if other awakened ones strengthen their powers, Caden replies that most people do, as they can do whatever they want with their powers. Jiwoo then gets up to eat a slice of bread, and seeing Caden's hungry eyes, he pours some cat food for him too, since he hasn't eaten anything either. Even though he likes the food, Caden still gaslights himself into believing that he is only eating the food out of necessity. Suddenly, he senses an energy coming from outside, and when the cat senses it, he wakes up and starts running around the whole room before escaping. Ji-woo immediately got ready to go after the cat, since he could attack someone. Caden tells him that he doesn't have to act like a nice guy all the time, but Ji-woo is worried about him and thinks that it would be easier to catch the cat this time, since he is weak from the previous battle. Realizing that he is not going to back down, Caden decides to go with him as he senses an unpleasant energy and tells Ji-woo that he is not doing it for him, even though he is actually doing it for him. This is where the video ends. Please like and subscribe. See you next time.